Hello friends, today we are going to learn how to test and then disassemble this heated seat switch intended for my 6th generation Mitsubishi Mirage. A notable feature of this heated seat switch assembly is that the switch will retain its position even through restarts of the car. Because of this, both switches must be accessible to the driver so that they can turn off the passenger seat heating when there is no passenger in the vehicle. Here you can see the plastic tabs that hold the switch into the vehicle. Here's a photo of the back of the heated seat switch with the pinout numbered. This diagram depicts how the heated seat system works. The big white gap in the middle is because it's 2 pages spliced into one picture. We're going to start off by focusing on the right side of this diagram. Right here, these 2 LEDs labeled ILL. This is the illumination circuit, which is the backlighting for when the parking lights or the headlights are on. Looking at the top of this diagram, we can see that the illumination circuit is powered by the taillight relay, which is the parking lights. This circuit is shared by a bunch of other things in the vehicle that also have backlighting, such as the active stability control off switch, cruise control switches, and the hazard warning light switch. And instead of being connected to vehicle ground near the bottom of this diagram, we can see that these lights are connected back to the combination meter, and PWM is pulse width modulation. That means that the combination meter is able to control the brightness of these lights by rapidly turning them on and off. And the reason it does this is because the user is able to set the brightness of backlighting through the multi-information display. That doesn't just apply to the cluster, that actually applies to all lights in the vehicle. Not important, but for those who are interested, controlling the load from the ground side is called a low side switch, and it's often an easier circuit to design and uses cheaper components, which is why it was preferred by Mitsubishi. It also means that the parking lights themselves don't have to go through the combination meter, allowing them to be powered independently by the same relay. Looking back at our diagram here, we can see it's positive on pin 2 and ground on pin 6 to power the illumination circuit. I'm going to use this computer power supply to energize the illumination circuit. Yellow is 12 volts and black is of course ground. So we're going to apply positive to pin 2 and ground to pin 6. I unfortunately do not have any way of generating a square wave for pulse width modulation to reduce the brightness of these lights. Instead, we are effectively doing a 100% pulse width modulation duty cycle, which is constantly on, which is the maximum brightness, which is what you're seeing now. Now, pivoting back to our big diagram here, we're going to talk about how the switch is powered. Zooming in on the left half of our diagram, I've circled the heated seat relay in red here. This relay is the sole source of power for the heated seat switch. Within this red circle on the left side, you can see that squiggly line. That is a coil, which is an electromagnet. When energized, it pulls the spring-loaded circuit closed, sending power to the heated seat switch. And as you can see circled in green, it is powered by a 7.5 amp fuse. Here is a screenshot of the test procedure from the factory service manual. You simply apply battery power across terminals 1 and 2, and the coil is energized, creating continuity across terminals 3 and 4. If we look at the fuse box diagram, we can see the 7.5 amp fuse that's powering our relay's coil also powers a bunch of other things which are also dependent on the ignition switch being on and are non-essential, non-critical items. So like air conditioning, cooling fan, heated seats, heater control panel, these are all non-critical items. They're all being wired together to simplify the design and to save on production costs. Going back to our diagram, we can see that when the vehicle is on, we receive power from one of two sources, either the ignition switch or the IG2 relay. The reason there's two different sources is because if you have a mechanical key, then you mechanically close that ignition switch. If you have a push to start vehicle, then you have a relay. So when that occurs, the holding coil receives power and the relay closes, and power is able to flow through that 20 amp fuse through our relay and to our heated seat switch. Like the previous fuse we looked at, we can see that this 20 amp fuse is dedicated to the seat heating system, and this is likely because the system has a high current requirement, and also because the system is more likely to fail and they don't want it taking down other things in the vehicle. Looking back at our diagram, we can see the relay sends positive power to pin 5 and pin 8 is connected to the vehicle ground. It's a little bit hard to make the connection holding loose wires in my hand, but once we do, you can see that the switch comes to life. Driver and passenger, high-low, all work. Looking back at our heated seat switch diagram and now focusing on the right hand side, we're going to trace out what happens when the driver's seat switch is set to low. So as you can see, power comes in through pin 5, the low indicator LED is energized, and also output pin A, which is pin 3 here, is energized. Looking at the service manual test procedure, we can see when driver's seat side is set to low, we're expecting continuity between pins 3 and 5, which is exactly what we saw in the diagram. Together, we're now going to test for continuity across pins 3 and 5. Our multimeter in continuity test mode. When the probes touch, there is that noise that is heard. So now touching terminals 3 and 5. Sorry for my head being in the way, we hear nothing. Now if we flip the low switch on, we now hear that there's continuity across terminals 3 and 5. Looking at this diagram of the seat heating elements, we can see that when terminal A receives power, both the seat cushion heater and the seat back heater are run in series. The service manual provides us with the resistance of the backrest at room temperature 20 degrees and also the resistance of the cushion at room temperature 20 degrees. We also know the system voltage is 14.4. Using this, we can calculate the power consumption of the seat heating system on low. Here's our diagram with our two known resistance values populated. In red is the seat cushion heater, that's the bottom part of the seat, and in green is the seat back heater, it's the backrest on the seat. And the reason we're able to measure these two separately is because the backrest has its own connector which plugs into the cushion. Note that I've decided to perform the calculations with the lower bound of the provided resistance range. I'm doing this to calculate the maximum current and power we expect this heating system to use. So here I've shifted the diagram over, and we know through Ohm's law that voltage is current times resistance. Resistance in this case, since they're run in series, is the sum of the two resistances. So we add those two together. Our voltage being 14.4 is actually rather optimistic, although that's what the alternator targets due to various losses, including but not limited to the resistance of the wiring. It's going to be a little bit less than 14.4 volts that reaches the seat heating system, but we're using this number to calculate our upper bound. So here we can see that the seat heating system on low draws 0.85 amps per seat, or 12.24 watts. I was very surprised when I realized that the heated seats on low do not use the thermostat. They are completely bypassed. I imagine that the elements themselves have some sort of like positive thermal coefficient, and they reduce power draw eventually up to nothing as the seats get warmer. But I was surprised that the safety mechanism integrated into the seats, the thermostat, is not being used. Now we will trace out the flow of electricity when the driver's side heated seat switch is set to high. Three things occur when the driver's side heated seat switch is flipped to high. the high indicator LED turns on. Terminal 1, which is also called B, is connected to 12 volts. And terminal 3, which is also called A, is now connected to ground. Looking at our test procedure, we can see terminal 1 is now connected to terminal 5, which is 12 volt input. And terminal 3 is now connected to terminal 8, which is ground. See here, there's no continuity across terminals 3 and 8, and there's no continuity across terminals 1 and 5. And now we have continuity across terminals 3 and 8, and across 1 and 5. Looking back at our heated seat diagram, we can see with B connected to battery positive and A connected to battery negative, the thermostats are now in series with B, and both elements are being run in parallel instead of in series, significantly increasing their power consumption. Looking back at the test procedures, measured resistance values, we can see there's a third value we didn't originally use. That is the terminal 2 on the seat assembly to seat back heater terminal 1. This represents the resistance of the thermostat. I've added this third resistance value to our diagram in blue. Now to calculate power consumption, we need to calculate both the seat bottom and the seat back independently. We also need to take into account that the thermostats are now in series for both the seat bottom and seat back. So we calculate our current to be 2.79 amps total per seat. Driver seat, passenger seat are still independent, and that's about 40 watts. I was very surprised to see how large of a fuse 20 amps Mitsubishi is using for a heated seat system that can draw at most 5.6 amps at 20 degrees ambient temperature. But now we can also see why electric vehicles like Nissan Leafs always have heated seat systems, because they draw significantly less power than trying to heat the entire cabin. Now we're going to disassemble the switch together using a small flathead screwdriver. We're going to pry on either side to separate the black and blue parts of the switch. The top half is quite boring. The rocker switches move freely. There is no spring or any cool mechanism in this. The bottom half has this large circuit board that's been soldered in place. It has 6 LEDs. The 2 in the middle are for the backlight illumination, and then 2 high and 2 low indicators. You can see it's also full of this dielectric grease. So the rocker switch, when depressed, causes this black piece of plastic to slide either up or down, and below it is a ball with a spring that gives us the satisfying clicking detent feeling whenever we flip the switch from high to low or to off. And below that ball is, of course, a spring. Here's a quick look at the spring. Each black piece of plastic has 2 copper-colored metal plates on them, each with 3 bumps on them. These are spring-loaded, and there's no continuity across these. As we talked about earlier in the video, we need 2 because one of them connects to ground and one of them connects to 12 volts when the switch is in the high position. So as you can see here, there's no continuity across them. Looking at it diagonally, we can see below the PCB the metal pads that the sliding pieces of plastic establish continuity across. I'm very surprised that it's designed like this. It seems like this would probably need some sort of multi-material injection, which would be rather expensive. So to reassemble, we just slide the black pieces of plastic in, we push the ball under, and that's it. We can manually slide this around with the screwdriver between the high and low and off positions, and you can see the detent that the ball sits in cause that satisfying click. you can see, there is this alignment feature on the top, also sometimes called a key, which kind of prevents you from assembling it upside down. In terms of installation, the center cubby thing just pulls right out, and you can see, just hold on with the plastic clips. On this side there's a hole for a cable. I'm not sure why that's there. Looking in, we can see this free pair of sunglasses I got. I'm not sure where this came from. I bought the car used, so maybe the previous owner. We can see the connector we're interested in is taped to the side here to stop it from rattling. So yeah, you can see here nothing happens when I flip the switches. It's likely because I haven't installed fuse or relay. But when I turn on the parking lights, you can see that the illumination circuit does turn on. Backlighting this does work. I wasn't able to disconnect the heated seat switch again, so we're just going to shove the cubby in over top of it. We just need to push it off to the side so the cubby fits. Thank you for watching. Please leave any questions, comments, or feedback down below.